Dude, there is a reason that you don't have the social life or the dating life or the career that you want. And it has nothing to do with like your intrinsic value as a human being. It has to do with the fact that you are not taking risks, social risks, in the key moments that determine what kind of relationships, what kind of career you have. In this video, I'm going to share with you 2 steps on how to train your mind to start taking more risks, be more willing to take those risks. If that sounds interesting, let's jump into the video. So before I share with you those 2 steps, I need to very quickly explain why, as human beings, we are so risk averse, especially in social settings. And it comes down to the fact that 90% of evolution as human beings took place under very different circumstances than we have today. We lived as hunters and gatherers for the vast majority of humanity. Survival at all costs on a daily basis was the main focus. If you made the wrong mistake, if you ate a berry that, wasn't the right kind of berry, you would die. If you wandered a little bit away from your tribe, you would get eaten by a tiger. It was a very different and extremely unsafe society that we lived in. Aversion to risks was a very, very strong indicator of survivability, right? The folks who were a little bit cautious about eating the berry, the folks who would not wander away from the tribe, and very importantly, the folks who would not take social risks. Because if you take a social risk, when you live in a tribe of 50 to 100 people that you interact with, those are the 50 to 100 people that you'll interact with your whole life. If you piss those people off and get kicked out of the tribe, you're dead. I call this principle downside bias. As human beings in today's world, we still have the risk-reward calculation that our ancestors did. And we overly weigh the downside of a given risk compared to the upside in a lot of situations. I'm not talking about like jumping out of a plane or things like that. I'm talking about these social risks that we are taking. So one example of this, and this brings me on to step 1, by the way. Step 1 is analyze and determine consciously what the risk of a certain action is. So for example, if you're thinking about approaching a cute girl that you see, close your eyes, imagine it's a beautiful day, summer's day, it's a Saturday afternoon, you're walking in the park, the sun's shining on your face, and you see a cute girl walking towards you. She doesn't even have headphones in, she's not with anyone, she doesn't seem like she's in a rush. It seems like a great opportunity, right? Are you gonna approach her? Think about it realistically. I know it's easy to say, yeah, you would, but like, actually put yourself in that situation. It's scary. The butterflies in your stomach, it feels terrifying. Why? Why does it feel so scary? Think about it. What's the downside? She says no, she rejects you, and then nothing. You move on, she moves on. If you guys meet 6 months later down the road, you're wearing different clothes, neither of you will even remember each other. So who cares? What's the downside? Nothing. Your ego is bruised for a little bit. What's the upside? You could date this girl. You could have a relationship with this girl. Fuck, she could be the mother of your children. The upside is here, the downside is here, and yet 99% of you will not approach. This is downside bias in action. We are weighing this downside versus this upside. This downside wins, and none of us take the social risk. So the first step is just awareness of the fact that we have this internal bias in our brain, this instinctual aversion to risks that make very little sense in today's society. And so that's step 1, conscious awareness to the fact that the risk versus the reward is very likely not what your gut tells you. Your gut is serving you wrong in a lot of these cases. And that brings me on to step 2, which is proving to yourself that your hypothesis from step 1 is correct. And so we're going to use a term called progressive overload, which if you go to the gym a lot, you kind of know what that means, right? It's the idea that you get stronger and get bigger by constantly doing a little bit more work week over week over week. So that means, if you have a lift, if you're doing bicep curls, you're gonna add 1 more rep this week than last week, or you'll add 5 pounds this week versus last week. And slowly and steadily, you'll get stronger and stronger. The idea is that it takes you some time to go from a skinny dude to like having a solid physique, right? It's not gonna happen overnight. And in the same way, you're not gonna be the guy who goes from being completely socially awkward and kind of closed off to being the super social guy who can talk to anyone, talk to any girl, right? You're gonna have to baby step your way to doing so. And so when you think about that social risk that you would love to be able to take, if you want to be the guy who can consistently approach girls that you like, right? The guy who seemingly always has a date. If you want to be that guy, start with something a little bit easier. on the way to getting there. Because chances are, if you're scared of approaching, you're also scared of just striking up a random conversation with anyone. I would bet that if I took you to a crowded plaza and told you to start a conversation with any stranger, anyone, you will have a little bit of nervousness because it's the same thing. You're still scared of putting yourself out there, taking a social risk because of the same concept that we've talked about. Taking a social risk of any kind for a very long period of time was dangerous. However, taking a smaller social risk, like just asking someone what time it is, asking someone for directions, commenting to someone about how nice of a day it is without even expecting a response, giving some random guy, it doesn't even have to be a girl, a compliment. I like your shoes. Those are all easier risks. They're still risks. They're still going to make you a little bit nervous if you're not used to doing any of this, but it's slowly baby stepping your way to eventually being the guy who can just go up to any girl he likes and be like, hey, I thought you were cute. I wanted to say what's up. If you want to be the guy at work who takes on the big project, the one that, you know, if it goes well, you'll get promoted multiple times, you'll get a big raise. But if it goes poorly, you're gonna get blamed for it. You might even get fired. You're not gonna go from being the guy who just has his head down, blinders on, I'm just gonna do my work, do what I'm told, be a good little foot soldier. You're not gonna go from that guy to this guy overnight. But what you can do is slowly build your way up to that. So what you can start doing is voicing your opinion a little bit more. How many times, if you work in an office, if you work on a team, you know, how many times have you had it where, you know, someone says something, the boss agrees, and you know deep down, okay, this is probably not the best idea. We could probably do it a different way. It happens all the time and you never say anything, do you? So just start by speaking out on things like that, right? Like something where it's like, it's not a huge risk. You know that, you know, if you say, hey, you know, I'm sorry, I think we should actually do it this way because of this, this, and this. As long as you do it in a competent, calm way where you're not like calling it out, I think you're an idiot for saying that. What's gonna happen? You're not gonna get in trouble. Worst case scenario, someone else says, oh, but actually I think what you missed is this, this, and this. And then the boss will say, okay, yeah, I think we should do it the other way. You're not gonna look bad. As a matter of fact, honestly, your boss will actually respect you. If you have a good boss, your boss will actually respect you and say, okay, this person cares about their job. This person cares about what's going on. Once you get used to that, you can start taking on maybe a medium visibility project, one that's a little bit of a higher risk thing. Once you get good at that, then you can start taking on the big things. You see how you build up to it? And at each step, you have to analyze, okay, what is the risk? What is the reward? Because chances are my gut is telling me that the reward is way lower than the risk. Put yourself in that environment. Actually put yourself in that environment where your coworker says something that you know is probably not the right way to go, or your boss themselves is suggesting something that's probably not the right way to go. Would you actually say something? Probably not. You probably wouldn't. You would be scared to say something. But if you did, even if it fails, I promise you, you'll be stronger. And so that's it. If you start implementing this, if you pick any sort of social risk that you know is a good thing for you, whether it's setting a boundary or going out and being more social or taking on more risks at work, the first thing to do is consciously be aware of what your instincts are telling you is the risk versus the reward versus what you actually know is the risk versus the reward, and then slowly baby stepping your way towards taking those risks. If you do this consistently and on a daily basis, if you're consciously aware at all times of what's going on in your social life and your career, you're gonna start making progress. It's not gonna happen overnight, but it's going to happen over time, and you're gonna start seeing results. I hope this helped. Let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time, peace out. Thank you.